She was there at the crucifixion, she was there at the burial, and she was the first person to arrive at the tomb. Out of everyone in the story, the 12 disciples, the crowds, the Roman soldiers, she is one of the most consistently present figures in the entire gospel narrative. All four of them, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. She never left. Her name is Mary Magdalene, and for most of Western Christian history, the story told about her was that she was a prostitute. She wasn't. And we can trace exactly the moment the lie began, to a single sermon, by a single pope, on a single Easter Sunday. Let's start with what the Gospels actually say about her, because it is not what most people think. Luke 8:2 introduces her like this: Mary, called Magdalene, from whom 7 demons had gone out. That's it. That's the whole description. 7 demons. Now, in the first century Jewish world, demons didn't necessarily mean possession in the Hollywood sense. Demons were illness, affliction, suffering. To be freed from 7 of them was to be completely restored, 7 being the number of wholeness and completion. She was a patient, someone who had been healed. The Gospels do not call her a sinner. They do not call her a prostitute. They do not suggest any kind of immoral past. What they do say is that after she was healed, she followed Jesus, and she stayed. Through the crucifixion, when most of the male disciples had fled, through the burial, and into the garden on the 3rd morning. She was also the first person Jesus spoke to after the resurrection. And then he said to her, "Go, tell the others." In the early church there was a title for someone who was sent directly by Christ to carry a message to the other disciples. That title was apostle, and she had it before any of them. So what happened? Easter Sunday, 591 CE. Pope Gregory I is delivering a homily, and he makes a mistake. He takes 3 separate women from the Gospels and folds them into one person. Mary Magdalene, who is named specific, present throughout. An unnamed woman in Luke 7 who weeps at Jesus' feet, wipes them with her hair, and is described only as a sinner. And Mary of Bethany, the sister of Martha and Lazarus. 3 different women, 3 different stories, and Gregory merges them all into one figure, a reformed prostitute. This is the sermon that shaped how the Western world understood Mary Magdalene for the next 14 centuries. One man, one morning, one mistake, and it stuck in art, in literature, in church teaching, in the cultural imagination, for over 1,000 years. The correction came in 1969. Pope Paul VI officially clarified that Mary Magdalene was not, and had never been, a prostitute. The 3 women Gregory conflated were formally separated back into distinct figures in the Roman Catholic liturgical calendar. 1969, 1400 years after the mistake was made. I want to flag something here because it matters. The Eastern Orthodox Church never accepted Gregory's conflation. Not in 591, not in the centuries that followed. In the Orthodox tradition, Mary Magdalene remained exactly who the Gospels said she was: the first witness, the apostle to the apostles, a woman of standing and significance. It was specifically the Western Church that got it wrong, and kept it wrong, for 14 centuries. But here's where it gets genuinely strange. In 1896, a Coptic manuscript was acquired in Cairo, now known as the Berlin Codex. Inside it, the Gospel of Mary, a 2nd century text. In it, Mary Magdalene receives private teachings from Jesus that the other disciples weren't given. After the resurrection, the disciples are frightened and uncertain, and it's Mary who stands up and speaks, sharing what she was taught, steadying the room. Then Peter speaks, and what he says is remarkable. Did he really speak with a woman privately without our knowledge? Are we supposed to turn around now and listen to her? Did he prefer her over us? That's not a theological argument. That's a territorial one. Levi answers him, "If the Saviour made her worthy, who are you to reject her?" The text breaks off there. We don't know how the argument ended, but the argument was clearly real enough that someone thought it worth preserving. Here's what I keep coming back to. The label of prostitute didn't come from the Bible. It didn't come from history. It came from a sermon by a man who confused 3 different women, and whose mistake became church doctrine for 14 centuries. And I think the question worth sitting with is not just how this happened, it's why it was so easy to make it stick, because the Gospels are clear. She was there, she was trusted, she was sent. What she represented, a woman with direct spiritual authority, with knowledge the male disciples didn't have, commissioned before any of them, was deeply inconvenient for a church that was, by the 6th century, consolidating its hierarchy along very specific lines. They didn't make her a prostitute because of what she'd done. They made her a prostitute because of what she knew, and what she was. She's still in all four Gospels, unchanged, uncorrected, at the cross, at the tomb, first to the empty garden, first to hear her name spoken by someone who was supposed to be dead. Mary. And she turns. They spent 14 centuries trying to tell a different story about her. The Gospels never agreed.